The last text I got from him was 3 weeks ago. It was a single emoji, the melting face. A perfect, silent summary of everything we had done. Now I keep my phone upside down on my nightstand, a constant physical reminder of the unexploded ordnance I carry inside me. I am 38. I am married to Peter, a high school history teacher. We live in a quiet college town bungalow, the one we bought with the naive excitement of true partnership. We have 2 children, both girls. Their laughter, the highest, clearest sound in my life. Peter is, objectively, a wonderful man. Kind, patient, utterly devoted to the mundane excellence of his life. He is a man who loves what is, while I realized too late, am a woman who mourns what might have been. The grief wasn't for a lost life. It was for the lost potential of my own soul. My husband and I hadn't fought in years. We were too aligned, too tired, too comfortable. Our days were a synchronized ballet of duties. School drop-offs, grading, dinner prep, the nightly ritual of Netflix and silence. Our intimacy was gentle, predictable, a perfunctory box checked for maintenance. I started feeling like a secondary character in my own story, a prop in the background of Peter's predictable happiness. I was emotionally malnourished in a marriage that was, on paper, faultless. The hunger for something raw and unpredictable crept in slowly, like a draft under a locked door. It was the desire to feel the sharp edge of my own risk again, to know that I was capable of making a spontaneous, irreversible decision. The first key turning point was the seduction of the shared secret. He was Julian, a visiting scholar from a foreign university, specializing in my field, environmental science. I met him at a professional mixer. He was 10 years younger than me, but carried an old, knowing melancholy in his eyes. He didn't see the PTA mom in the sensible blazer. He saw the scientist who had shelved her most ambitious research. Our connection was immediate, intellectual, and utterly corrosive to my existing reality. We began meeting weekly under the guise of work, drafting papers, discussing controversial data. He challenged my intellect, pushed my theories, and most importantly, he listened to the complicated, messy thoughts that Peter's steady love had muffled. The emails started late, filled with abstract ideas that quickly dissolved into agonizingly personal confessions. Julian was a mirror that reflected the woman I secretly longed to be. Vibrant, articulate, dangerous. The emotional infidelity became physical on a research trip 5 hours from home. We were staying in separate, identical rooms in a bland highway motel. After dinner, we sat in his room, surrounded by scattered notes and the smell of stale air conditioning, talking until the moon hung low in the square of the window. The second key turning point was the reckless affirmation of self. I remembered the cold fear that gripped my chest when he finally reached for me. It wasn't the shame of being caught. It was the terror of crossing the threshold. I leaned into his touch, a sudden, desperate surrender to a feeling I thought had atrophied. His hands were quick, insistent, demanding a level of presence I hadn't given myself in years. I felt the sudden, shattering realization that this wasn't about him, it was about me. It was the furious, final gasp of the woman who didn't want to fade away gently. In that room, under the harsh motel light, my body felt like a forgotten instrument suddenly played by a virtuoso. The intensity was blinding, It wasn't tender or sweet. It was necessary. It was the chaotic, immediate confirmation that my capacity for passion, for feeling, was not dead. It was merely imprisoned. Driving home the next morning, the silence in my car was deafening. I felt corrupted and clean, all at once. I had done the thing I swore I never would, and the world had not stopped turning. My marriage, my life, it was all still there. But my internal landscape was irrevocably altered. I had a secret, and the weight of that truth made me feel both powerful and profoundly worthless. The affair continued in clandestine bursts for the next 2 months. Stolen afternoons, excuses manufactured with practiced ease. The lies no longer tasted bitter, they became the air I breathed. I watched Peter from across the table, his earnest, kind face blurred by my own self-loathing, and I felt the sickening truth that I was a better liar than I was a wife. The final key turning point was the irreversible shift in perspective. Julian's visiting term ended. He did not offer a dramatic future. He was too much of a realist for that. He simply said, "You chose to live a lie to feel real. You cannot unlearn that feeling, Clara. Now you have to decide where you will be most honest, with yourself or with him." He was gone 2 days later. I didn't confess. I couldn't bear to inflict the surgical trauma of the truth on Peter and our daughters. My profound guilt dictated a final, terrible act of self-punishment, staying. I am now the sole guardian of the devastating truth that nearly destroyed us. The silence I live in now is not Peter's fault. It is my own deliberate choice to carry the secret, to protect him from the weapon I became. I still look at Peter, and the love I feel is real, but it is now filtered through an acute, painful awareness of my own moral flexibility. He sees a renewed energy in me, a sudden focus on our life. He thinks I'm thriving. I am, but I'm thriving because I learned how to breathe fire, and now I'm using that fire to heat our home, terrified that one spark will catch and incinerate everything. The aftermath is not reconciliation, it is coexistence. I question my motives constantly. Did I cheat because I was unhappy, or was I unhappy because I was always wired to seek the dangerous edges? I don't know the answer. I only know that I can never go back to the woman I was, the one who believed she was incapable of such a fundamental betrayal. The woman who returned from that motel room is forever a stranger to the life she walks through. She has no easy redemption, only the daily, agonizing work of living a life that is both perfectly aligned and fundamentally corrupt. My sentence is the ongoing knowledge that I chose stability over authenticity, but only after I violently proved to myself that I could have chosen the fire. I am safe. I am broken. I am here.